This Wednesday night, let's bring in One Nation Leader Pauline Hanson as she joins us on the line from Queensland. Senator Pauline Hanson, great to see you. I've got to start with something that I find extremely difficult to believe. A report today on, I think it's 4BC in Brisbane, suggesting that Brisbane might change its name, the Palaszczuk government's going to do this, in the lead up to the Olympic Games. The Greens apparently are pushing for this. The name of Brisbane would be Mianjin, and they would do that prior to the 2032 Olympics. Please, Pauline, don't fall off your chair.
How insane is this to actually want to change the name of Brisbane that's been called Brisbane for what, 150 years plus, and generations have grown up under Brisbane. All our birth certificates, marriage certificates, where were you born, Brisbane, Australia, all our tourism, people overseas know it as Brisbane, and we're going to change it to a name that I can't even remember what you said. Within a matter of few seconds, I can't remember. And I have no intentions of actually wanting to remember. So the fact is, to me, it'd be Brisbane. This is why the Palaszczuk government has to go. And we're talking about 3% of our population is actually Indigenous, but how many actually do live in the area of Brisbane? So wanting to change a name to some Aboriginal name, the same as they did with Fraser Island, is absolutely ridiculous. I hope Palaszczuk is just thrown out on her ear at the next election. I hope Queenslanders realise she has to go and the Labor Party have to go.
Well, the problem is, Pauline, of course, that Anastasia Palaszczuk and her government, if you read this story, you'd think it was made up, but they're quite capable of actually pushing this down the road. And one only wonders, Pauline, what will Queen Street be named? What else are we going to change the name of in Brisbane?
Oh, look, they spoke about it a few years ago, about Burleigh Heads. They want to change all the names to Aboriginal names to people, you know. Let common sense prevail, will we? You know, the cost to the taxpayer to change the name from Brisbane to another name, it is absolutely ridiculous, Steve. And this is where they're headed. Palaszczuk is headed with the treaty for the Aboriginal groups and organisations, about 150 here in Queensland, supported by David Foley. So he supports this as well. This is the Liberal National Party in Queensland, and no consultation with the people of Queensland. You know, so if this is going to be an election issue, I tell people now, we will oppose it. One Nation will oppose this. We will not allow it to happen. We will stop it on the floor of Parliament. So if you want the name to stay as Brisbane, then I suggest you make sure you vote for One Nation, because I wouldn't support, I don't trust the LNP, I do not trust the Palaszczuk government, and what they've got in line for Queensland, you know, we're going to, you know, who knows what other things they're going to bring in for Queensland. So, you know, you need some common sense to prevail here. It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous, Steve.
Yeah, it just beggars belief. You wonder what the IOC make of it, given that Brisbane bid for the Games. Let's talk about small business, which is something that you're very passionate about. Now, when the budget came out from the Albanese government, delivered by Jim Chalmers, and they announced this change to prescriptions for people through their local pharmacy, and it was going to go from where you could get a prescription last 30 days to 60 days, I didn't think that was a bad idea. I had a quick chat to Peter Credlin about this tonight off air, though, and I note the Pharmacy Guild's Anthony Tassoni has said that this is going to potentially wipe out so many small pharmacies, because they are going to lose the government fee that they get for each prescription. That'll be halved, and they're estimating that could halve their income. What do you make of this, given that this was buried in the budget and it's gone through already?
Look, this is a very contentious issue, and of course the Pharmacy Guild is a very strong, powerful organisation, I have no doubt about it. And I spoke to the President prior to the election and had a good talk with him about the cost of prescriptions, and he said they should come down from $42.50 down to $19.50. After he explained it to me, I thought, no, great move. So I made it as a policy. It was only after the election that the Liberal Party jumped on board, and also the Labor Party, and they did reduce it. The Labor Party did reduce it. Now, I've had a meeting with Mark Butler last week. He asked me if I wanted a briefing about this, and I thought, yes, I want to be better informed with regards to this, because On the face value of it, I thought it's a saving of $1.2 billion to the taxpayer. You're going to have people that can get their scripts over a period of time, 2 months or 3 months at a time, where they're not having to run back to the doctors. So therefore, it's going to alleviate the pressure on doctors of patients having to go back purely for a script. We're talking about scripts that could be cholesterol tablets, heart tablets, diabetes. It's not all prescriptions. It's those that they have on a regular basis. So they won't give out medication that is actually could be dangerous or harmful that need follow-up by the doctors to look at their patients. Now, Mark Butler told me, said they are very concerned about regional and rural communities with their pharmacists. Like in Emerald, there's only one. So therefore, you need to, look after them, protect them. I agree with that. But also, the federal government gives a $40,000 a year subsidy to rural and regional pharmacies. And as Mark Butler said to me, we're thinking about maybe bumping this up to $100,000 to, cover them for any loss. And I said, look, instead of, it's like the COVID, you just automatically paid out people for this loss of wages when they didn't even work the hours. Why don't you look at their tax returns, the pharmacy's tax returns, what they've made in loss from the previous year to what their loss would be, and then work from that. Don't just hand over taxpayers' dollars to these pharmacies that may not be losing the money because of their prescriptions. So he said that's a good point, but there's a lot to be said for both sides of this argument. We do need to look after rural and regional pharmacies. Is it the ones in the cities that are screaming the most, saying they're going to lose between $158,000 plus, or is it really preserving where we're saving the taxpayers' dollars, we're alleviating the pressure on the doctors, because in rural and regional areas, we can't get in to see doctors. They don't have the doctors. So if people can get their scripts in these rural and regional areas, it saves them the travelling, it saves them, waiting so long to get in to see a doctor. So there's falls and against all this, Steve. So I'm not sold on either side. I think that the Pharmacy Guild is looking after their own hip pocket. And what we need to possibly do then is possibly increase the dispensing fees to the chemist. Make it half that much again. If they're going to give out 2 months' supplies rather than 1 month's supply, look at it doing that way. But we need to alleviate the pressure off the doctors, because people can't get in to see them purely for a script.
Yeah, I don't think you want to get caught in the middle of the lobby group from the Pharmacy Guild and the AMA. I think that'd be a dangerous place to be. Pauline Hanson, Senator Pauline Hanson, always a pleasure to catch up with you. Thank you very much for joining us tonight.